So thank you. It's great to be here. As Sophie said, my name's Ronan Heller, and I'm part of the team at Super Penguin. We've developed a digital health platform and mobile app to support carers of individuals with speech, language, and communication needs. And I'm going to talk to you this morning about the team we put together for an NIHR Invention for Innovation, I for I, Product Development Award for a feasibility study of our Super Penguin app to support parents and carers of children who stammer. I'm a person who stammers, as are others on the team, and our lived experience has helped to drive our work here. I'm extremely grateful for this opportunity to talk to you, and thank you to the RSS team for putting this event together and all of the support they've provided to us. Before I go any further, a little background that I think might be helpful. So we're a small team working in an underfunded area, speech and language therapy, with a niche focus, stammering. And these considerations lead to several challenges. Principle amongst them is that the cliff edge of funding is always in sight, and we have to move very quickly if we can. Our grant experience had previously been with Innovate UK, where we'd won several grants for R&D. These were generally small amounts of money, smaller projects, which allowed us to lead the majority of the work on our own, and normally with just the input of an academic partner. This worked well for us as we could do things quickly. We didn't have to rely too heavily on other people's input or their particular time pressures. After working through several Innovate grants, we were advised to explore NIHR funding. And at the beginning, we approached things as we had with the Innovate projects, trying to do everything ourselves and as quickly as possible. We had a few attempts at different submissions and failed to get teams together or failed to align timelines with people. And I'm sure we scared one or two off by either being over ambitious or trying to meet impossible headlines. In hindsight, this taught us a lot about the requirements needed, the support structures in place, and the need for us to develop patience and a new approach to collaboration. In short, we had a lot of learning to do, and this is where all of the input from the RSS was critical. It became clear that there was absolutely no way we could manage these types of grants as we had with our previous Innovate projects. So I'm going to take you through each area of the team and talk a little bit about how things came together. It's important to say that there was not a clear order or process to this team building necessarily. And as you will hear, things came about in various ways and sometimes by good fortune. Again, I cannot overstate the importance of the advice that we received from RSS and other people to help us through this process. And it's also worth saying that in this particular case, I had volunteered with various stammering organizations for several years before putting this team together. And these connections were extremely helpful as well. So we knew how important academic partners were, but finding the right one who can dedicate the time needed to grant projects had been a consistent challenge for us. But for our I for I, we had a certain degree of luck. As I said, we had some links with some stammering researchers through previous work and through my charity contacts. And through this network, we were in touch with a stammering specialist about taking the lead on the project. However, he felt that he was too early in his career and introduced us to a more senior colleague who had carried out research into complex healthcare interventions. This person was excited by our ideas and agreed to be a co-lead applicant. This was very important as we didn't have any previous in-house experience of leading NIHR projects, and her presence on the submission gave us an important senior voice. It also allowed us to pair stammering knowledge with a broader research background that strengthened the team. We never worked directly with any NHS colleagues on a grant project, but previous work with a prototype app had helped us begin several conversations with NHS speech and language therapists. We'd included them in some of the feedback cycles related to that app, so this project was a natural next step. Nonetheless, this was a challenging part of the project. Clinicians do not have much time, And we found that with many, the mention of doing research on top of their standard workload was a scary proposition, even if they were interested and inclined to be involved. And there was a touch of luck in how we made progress here. I was on holiday in Madrid and I was waiting at the bus stop to get back to the airport for my flight home. The only other people at the bus stop were a young family, and we ended up chatting. And it turned out the mum was an NHS stammering specialist. We got talking, and she was open to hearing more about our work. I sent over some information. She put me in touch with a clinical lead and a research lead who were on board, and her trust ended up being the first agreed NHS partner on the project. This was a significant step and helped us move things forward considerably. It was much easier to get other NHS people involved after that first connection. A completely new area for us was the clinical trials unit. We didn't really know what they did or why they were so important. But after working alongside one now for the last 2 years or so, I can tell you that I now see why they are a prerequisite for projects like ours. They have the kind of knowledge that helps de-risk a project and keep things running smoothly. I meet with them now once a week, and we're in constant email communication, and they feel like an extra arm of the team. We were also lucky to be able to include their chief statistician as a named co-applicant and ring-fence some time from him. Again, having a statistician was not something we really thought about or considered to be too important, but it has been clear that his input is vital in delivering a quality submission and has given us a much better chance of a successful project. The CTU team and the stats lead provided significant guidance and input throughout the application process as well, and have taken the lead on things like protocol management, ethics submissions, and opening up recruitment sites. It took us ages to work out PPIE, and I spent a lot of time talking to different advisors about this. And I think we weren't actually completely clear until our stage 2 submission. We'd done a lot of what we thought was PPIE already, getting feedback on designs, testing, doing interviews, etc. This didn't fit the bill in terms of the PPIE input expected by NIHR. We needed someone at a level above that, essentially someone who would become part of the team and help us carry out the research by leading workshops themselves, leading interviews and other processes rather than testing things. Once we had this clear, we were able to use our stammering charity contacts again to identify a suitable person. And in response to stage 1 feedback, which suggested our PPI approach was weak, we also included a charity representative as part of the PPI team. We were advised to include one of the Health Innovation Network teams on the submission, and we worked with the East Midlands team there. This is another organisation that's known to the NHS and NIHR that further helped to de-risk the project and bring expertise in. Health Innovation East Midlands also have links with the Centre for Healthcare Equipment and Technology Adoption, which is known as CHEETA, who joined to help advise with commercialisation aspects of things. They have an established track record and help to further de-risk the project and add expertise to the team. So part of getting the team together was understanding the expectations of NIHR and how all the various pieces fitted together. An important part of this was understanding how the team mapped onto the broad organisation of work packages within which the project must be divided and organised. In our case, we had core work packages linked to product development, involving both clinician and parent input, PPI involvement to structure the setting up of PPIE groups and how their input would feed into things, evidence generation, which was linked to the feasibility study in our case, and then regulatory and commercialization work. So that's been a whistle-stop tour in the time that I have to that I hope has been helpful and given you a better understanding of things. I think in our case, this is a story of us moving from almost complete naivety, learning the hard way with several failed attempts, and then slowly building up knowledge and finally the team around that. I think it's important to say that we had a lot of help along the way from the RSS and also from the project partners, many of whom were more experienced in this than us. And we were able to draw on their network of collaborators as well to help us expand the team. Alongside all of this excellent advice and support, I do think that things have to fall into place in a way that is hard to control. Timelines have to align. People have to be open to maybe doing a bit of extra work and have the kind of mental capacity to do that. So there's an element of things that I think are kind of fortune there. And then one last thing I learned personally was that you have to get the balance right between coaxing people to be involved without seeming too demanding. Maintaining goodwill and morale was extremely important, particularly in the face of deadlines and extra workloads. I think this is something we had failed to do previously, but did a much better job when putting this team together.